It was one of those perfect Saturday mornings, the kind where the air smelled like fresh cut grass and the sun hit the pavement just right. I had just finished pressure washing my driveway, something I hadn't done in months. It looked spotless, gleaming like new concrete straight out of a construction ad. I stood back, admiring my work, sipping coffee, proud of the small victory. That's when I saw her, Karen, the self-appointed guardian of our HOA. Blonde hair in a tight bun, clipboard in hand, marching down the street like she owned the place. Every neighbor in Maplewood Estates knew that look, the one that said trouble was coming. She slowed down in front of my house, her lips pursing as her eyes darted from my car to the spotless driveway. I could practically hear the gears grinding in her head as she found something, anything to complain about. "Excuse me," she called out, walking up the sidewalk. "Do you have a permit for that?" I blinked. "A permit? For cleaning my driveway?" "Yes," she said, adjusting her sunglasses. "You used a pressure washer. According to HOA rules, any chemical runoff into the street must be reported." "I didn't use chemicals," I replied, trying not to laugh. "Just water." "Well," she said, sniffing the air dramatically, "it smells like detergent." I stared at her, speechless. "Karen, it's clean. That's what clean smells like." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't get smart with me. Your driveway is too clean. It makes the rest of the neighborhood look dirty." I actually thought she was joking, until she started writing something on her clipboard. "What are you doing?" I asked. "I'm filing a visual uniformity complaint," she said. "Your property doesn't match the surrounding aesthetic. It's distracting." I burst out laughing. "You're reporting me for making my driveway too clean?" Karen didn't even blink. "Yes, HOA rules state all exterior appearances must maintain visual balance. You've disrupted that balance." She handed me a pink slip, a warning notice, and strutted off down the street. I stood there, stunned, watching her disappear around the corner. My clean driveway sparkled in the sunlight, as if mocking the absurdity of it all. But as ridiculous as it seemed, I had no idea what Karen was planning next, because the next day she'd come back with backup, and things were about to get way worse. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of voices outside, not the usual birds or distant lawnmowers, but sharp, officious voices. When I peeked out the window, I froze. Karen was back. Only this time, she wasn't alone. 2 other HOA board members stood beside her, a man in khaki shorts with a binder and a woman holding a measuring tape. All 3 were staring at my driveway like it was a crime scene. I stepped outside, still in my slippers. "Morning. What's this about now?" Karen turned, arms crossed, lips tight. "We received a formal complaint regarding excessive surface, brightness on your property." I blinked. "You mean my clean driveway?" "Yes," she said firmly. "The glare is affecting traffic visibility. It's a potential hazard." I looked up and down the street. Not a single car in sight. "Traffic visibility? There's barely any traffic here except for your golf cart patrol." "Nevertheless," Karen continued, "we're here to assess the situation." The man in khakis crouched down with a small gadget. "Luminosity level at 92. That's well above the neighborhood average." I stared at him. "You're measuring how bright my concrete is?" Karen nodded as if this were perfectly normal. "HOA policy 4B subsection 3, uniform visual presentation. You're violating it." The woman with the tape measure chimed in, "And the water runoff is outside the edge line." "Edge line?" I said. "That's just how driveways work." Karen shook her head dramatically. "You're not taking this seriously, are you? Cleanliness is one thing. Defiance is another." I felt my patience thinning. "Karen, I pressure washed my driveway. That's all. I didn't repaint the house or build a moat. You can't fine me for keeping things clean." Her eyes flashed. "We can and we will. Expect an official notice within 48 hours. The HOA will determine the penalty amount." Before I could reply, she motioned for her team to take photos, dozens of them, from every angle. They even measured the distance between the edge of my driveway and the sidewalk like they were mapping a crime scene. Finally, she smirked and said, "You'll think twice. Next time before upsetting the visual. Harmony of this neighborhood." As they left, my neighbor across the street, Mr. Thompson, called out from his porch, shaking his head. "You've done it now, kid. Karen's got you in her sights." I exhaled slowly. For having a clean driveway? He shrugged. That's how it starts. I didn't realize it then. But this petty complaint was about to spiral into an all-out neighborhood war. By Monday morning, the official notice had arrived. A bright yellow envelope sat taped to my front door like a badge of shame. Notice of violation. HOA Regulation B3. Property surface exceeds acceptable cleanliness standards. Corrective action required within 72 hours. Failure to comply may result in fines up to $500. I actually laughed out loud. Too clean and in writing? They really did it. But by lunchtime, the laughter faded when Karen herself showed up again. Clipboard in hand, her sunglasses glinting like a villain in a bad movie. "Good afternoon," she said sweetly. "Have you made arrangements to address your violation?" I crossed my arms. "You mean to make my driveway dirtier?" She smiled like a shark. "That would be one acceptable corrective measure, yes." I stared at her in disbelief. "You want me to what, throw mud on it?" "Or dust," she offered casually. "Or a neutralizing compound to reduce reflectivity." I almost choked. "Neutralizing compound? It's concrete!" Karen shrugged. "Rules are rules. I don't make them." "Yes, you do," I interrupted. "You're the one writing these fake citations." That wiped the smile off her face. She stepped closer. "Careful. Defaming an HOA board member can result in additional penalties." That was it. I was done playing nice. "Karen," I said evenly, "I've lived here for 6 years. I've paid every HOA due on time. I fixed up my lawn, painted my fence, even trimmed the community hedges when no one else would. And now you're trying to fine me for cleaning my own driveway? No, not happening." Her jaw tightened. "Then we'll see you at the next HOA meeting. We'll let the board decide." "Perfect," I said. "Because I'm bringing proof that this entire complaint is a joke." That night I started digging. I pulled up the HOA bylaws online. 47 pages of mind-numbing legal text. And started searching. Every rule about surface, maintenance, not a single word about cleanliness limits. Nothing about reflectivity or brightness. But you know what I did find? Section 8C, abuse of authority by HOA board members. And Section 9A, right to appeal and petition board misconduct. I printed it all, highlighted everything, even made copies for every neighbor on the street. If Karen wanted a fight, she was about to get one, legally, publicly, and with an audience. And when the HOA meeting came that Friday night, Karen wasn't ready for what I had planned. The community hall was packed that Friday night. Every folding chair was taken, and a few neighbors stood along the back wall holding cups of coffee. You could feel the tension in the air, the kind that only builds when everyone knows drama is coming. At the front table sat the HOA board, 3 members and, of course, Karen, sitting in the center like a queen waiting for her subjects to bow. Her clipboard rested in front of her like a sword. When my name was called, I stood up and walked to the microphone. My heart was pounding, but I wasn't nervous. I had every document ready, neatly stacked in a folder labeled, "Karen's Clean Driveway Case." "Evening," I said. "Apparently I'm here tonight because my driveway is too clean." A few chuckles broke out from the audience. Karen's glare could have melted paint. I continued, holding up the violation notice. "This is the citation I received. According to this, I violated Regulation 4B3, which, funny enough, doesn't actually exist in the HOA handbook." A murmur spread through the crowd. Karen shifted in her chair. "So," I said, flipping through the pages, "I did some reading. There's nothing, and I mean nothing, in our HOA rules about driveway cleanliness. But there is Section 8C, abuse of authority by HOA board members." Now everyone was paying attention. Cameras came out. A couple of neighbors even started filming. Karen's voice snapped across the room. "You are out of order. You can't accuse board members of misconduct without proper—" I held up a copy of the bylaws. Actually, Section 9A says I can. I have the right to appeal and present evidence of misuse of power. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Gasps and whispers echoed around us. The board members glanced at each other uncomfortably. Then Mrs. Peterson, one of the other board members, spoke up. "Karen, did you authorize this citation without a board vote?" Karen's face went pale. "It was an urgent matter." "So that's a yes?" Karen fumbled her clipboard. I was ensuring neighborhood standards." But it was too late. The crowd was already turning. Someone from the back shouted, "You fined him for cleaning?" Another added, "We're tired of this nonsense, Karen." Within minutes, the board called an emergency motion. The result? Karen was suspended indefinitely pending review. When the meeting ended, I walked out into the cool night air. My neighbors clapped me on the back, laughing and cheering. As I reached my driveway, it still sparkled under the streetlight. Spotless, shining and gloriously too clean. Karen never came by again, but every time I hear a pressure washer start up in the neighborhood, I can't help but smile. Because now, everyone's driveway is just as clean as mine.